So for me, I learned to meditate with the Sri Chinmoy Centre. So the Sri Chinmoy Centre is a fantastic group of people who follow the teachings of the late Sri Chinmoy, who really believed that self-transcendence was the path to true happiness. So he really saw for each of us, if we could try and transcend our own previous achievements, if we could always try and go beyond what we've done before, that was really a pathway to finding true happiness here on earth. So he really inspired me, and he really encouraged me a lot with my running. And from him, he's been a great example. When he was alive, he was always constantly trying new things and trying to push his limits. So I've really taken that on board in my own life, and I'm always looking to challenge myself and step out of my comfort zone and do things that I've never done before or I didn't think was possible. So that's been great, having someone like that, a real mentor who can inspire me and point me in a direction and really show me that there's so much more that is possible than what we often think is possible. So that's been a real blessing for me, and I'm really grateful for that. So a lot of the inspiration I get from my running as well comes from nature's beauty. In New Zealand here, we're so lucky and blessed to be living in such a fantastic country with such easy access into the mountains, the forest and the sea. So New Zealand, although it's a small country, geographically it's got such a hugely diverse range of different terrains and different places to get out and explore. So for me, I get a lot of inspiration from spending time out in the mountains, especially with like-minded friends. With ultra races, I prefer to carry as little as possible. I really like the minimalist approach to racing, so travelling light and fast. So I prefer just to carry 1 or 2 handheld bottles depending on the distance of the race, and then a few gels for nutrition. I'm really lucky that I'm sponsored by Sock-Only shoes here in New Zealand, and they provide me with some really fantastic shoes for both the trails and also training and running on the roads as well. They've got everything from really lightweight minimalist barefoot shoes like the Hattori through to really beautiful lightweight trainers that I really love, the Kinavaras. I don't really do too much in the way of cross-training. For me, trying to just get my mileage in each week takes up most of my spare time. For example, in a normal week, if I'm running 20 hours plus, I'll try and get core work, abdominals, lower back, obliques. I'll do some of that 3 or 4 days a week. And I'm also doing a little bit of slacklining now, just working on the balance, getting the proprioception going on. And I've been finding that really good, so that's something I'm going to keep up. So I got into ultra running a few years ago. Before that I did some running on the track, I did some road racing and that sort of thing, so I was working on my speed, which has been really beneficial for ultras. It's nice coming into the ultra scene and already having a good running base and already having done some reasonable times. And my first ultra I did was a 47-mile race in New York, which was a couple of years ago now, so it was a big step outside my comfort zone. I'd done up to a marathon before, but I'd never gone beyond that, so doing 47 miles on a really hilly road course was definitely a big challenge, but I really enjoyed the experience of being out there for a longer time, and I found it really suited my nature and my personality. So from there I've really been inspired to go on and try some different, longer and more challenging races. So for someone tackling their first ultra, I'd really recommend they try and get out and do as much time as they can on their feet. It's really getting to know your body and getting to know and understand your own limits that's going to allow you to begin to push past them. So if you're going to be racing on the trails, it's really nice to get out and get comfortable on the trails, and that really just comes with time on your feet. The more time you can spend out there running on the trails, the more comfortable you become with all the different sorts of terrain and variations you find out there. If you're doing something on the road, you also need to get used to that repetition that you're going to find, that repetitive use of your muscles and joints. So whatever you're doing, try and get some specific training done, but really it's just trying to push your own limits at the end of the day. With ultra running, you're really competing only against yourself and your own achievements. So if you've never done 100k before, if you've never done 50k before, the main goal of the beginning of the race, I think, is always just to try and finish, and that goes for anyone who's doing an ultra. It's always a challenge. It's never going to be an easy day out if you're doing 100 miles or 100k or something like that. So it's always a challenge, and you're always really competing against your own capacities. Outside of running, I work at a music store. My wife and I manage it. It's called Gundavaloka, and it's quite a unique music store. It's a world music store, so we sell instruments from all over the world, everything from Indian instruments, Chinese, Asian style instruments, North American, European instruments. So it's really quite an eclectic and interesting store, and it's a great place to work because we get to do a lot of travel. We're often going to different parts of the globe searching for new instruments. So that's what I do in my day-to-day life, and outside of that I try and get as much running done as possible.